Are you a content creator? Or perhaps do you know one? So engrossed in your work that you oftentimes forget to take a break to even eat? My stories are written with you in mind. The next time you give yourself that 10-minute break, enjoy one of my short stories that will invigorate your creative juices while you relax. Walking towards me. I clearly knew the question, clear as day, but I could not understand why I couldn't come up with an answer. But now the dead man was getting closer to me, so I locked and loaded my M16, but I never got the chance to use it. The base security team, all 10 of them, opened up on the dead man. I saw his flesh being shredded by the hail of bullets striking his body. The dead man went down again. This time, I was sure it was for good because there wasn't much left of him to get up again. The security team ran up to the body, and I could see them circling and staring down at it when a few of the guys lifted their weapons and began shooting the body again. The others just stood there staring down. Again, why? Why was all I could think. Then I was able to think another thought. Them security guys is wild as hell, I laughed. Then I really started laughing. I think it was a relief from not having to uncontrollably think why anymore. But I didn't really care what it was. I just wanted to laugh my ass off. And enjoyed conversing with them about how they came to move into so small a town as hers. She found them refreshing and easy to talk to, filling them in on the various townsfolk and the idiosyncrasies of living in such a small place. As she left, she extended the invitation for them to come visit her anytime. During their first month living there, the couple met nearly everyone in the charming little town. Everyone, it seemed, was elderly and had been raised there, and the couple came to appreciate the slow, quiet country lifestyle. With his time off the ship almost over, worried about leaving her alone, he suggested that his new wife find a job to occupy herself while he was out to sea. She explained to him that she'd already been offered the vacant position of mayor because the town needed someone smart enough to manage its affairs. He thought it was a great idea, and she agreed. After he returned to the ship scheduled for a 6-month tour, he began feeling guilty about moving her to a small town and then leaving her alone. He emailed his wife every day and called when he could. He learned that she was enjoying being the mayor, and she reassured him that we suffered a ruptured fuel cell only after 5 days in deep space. It was no one's fault, but it was the last thing I needed to show up on my record. This being my first outing as captain, it took too long for me to get the brass at Space Force to give me a mission, being the first black captain in the fleet. And now having to put down until repairs could be completed was not helping matters any. We'd been here for 3 days when we saw the inhabitants approaching. "Stand up and lower that weapon," I told Adams. "That's a direct order." "Williams," I said, "shoot him if he doesn't comply immediately." "Yes, sir," a gleeful Williams replied. "I'll blow his head clean off." Williams was my co-pilot. We came through the Space Force Academy together. He was a good-natured country boy from North Carolina who got the shit stick, his words, thrown at him for befriending me at the academy. He had a humorous country saying for everything and an unending supply of funny stories. It was his attitude that kept me from going off on the biases I suffered early on in the academy. As smart as I was, I couldn't have graduated without him. He'd spent the last 5 years doing every crappy job they could throw at him, all so that they could kick him out for not advancing. As captain, I had the choice of my co-pilot, not Space Force. I chose Williams, automatically promoting him 3 ranks to lieutenant commander, saving him from the Space Force chopping block. "You're not in command here. We're not in space anymore," Adams protested until he heard the unmistakable sound, the chambering of a shell in a pump shotgun held by Williams. He then fell silent. Meanwhile, I had already shifted my gaze back to the approaching inhabitants of the planet. My assumption that a delegation was approaching, but decided not, as it saved me a down payment on a real stone. So I took her hand, and she took mine, and we held hands often because both our hands were tied. I had to relocate her and her kids to a home I hadn't yet bought and wouldn't be around to do, not for 18 months if I was lucky and war didn't break out. We took a cab to the Justice of the Peace, where I took her hand and she took mine because both our hands were tied. We honeymooned at the courtyard near the interstate. She had a coupon for a complimentary night and got another. As he began his examination, he recorded his observations, noting that the corpse had been dead for years. It was an adult male in life, but the emaciated corpse barely weighed 20 pounds. Having completed the external examination, he turned off the handheld voice recorder. "I got your SOP right here," he laughingly said aloud while grabbing his crotch with his free hand, gesturing as if shaking his testicles. And those were the last words he would ever speak while alive. He took his scalpel and began to make the initial incision. As soon as the point of the scalpel pierced the skin of the corpse, blood, in a fine mist, erupted from the opening, instantly covering his face, hand, and torso. Before he could even register the shock of what happened, the blood absorbed into his body through his uncovered face and hand. He felt the blood on his shirt moving, as if somehow alive, trying to gain entrance into his body through the fabric. Less than 30 seconds later, he was undead, with an immediate need to find more blood, and already bound by the rule, the damnable rule that the blood which guarantees life to the undead, no, the blood which guarantees animation to the inanimate, must come from a differing bloodline each time he feeds, was the ultimate irony. With none. Shore Drive by Brian Rowe. It's almost autumn again, and that means it's been 30 years since I first learned the truth about Shore Drive. Even still, I've never been able to forget it. Not just because it was the scariest thing to ever happen to me, but because every year it's somebody else's turn. Every year there's somebody else who antes up, and it always makes the news. Almost like they know and are trying to show it that the debt is paid. I don't know what it is. I only know how it is and what it does, because it happened to me. When I first moved to Virginia, it was